Hey everyone, Lisa Salvatore here to talk to you about the lunar eclipse full moon that we have taking place on October 28th in the sign of Taurus. First things first, if you are new here, welcome. And if you have been here with me a while, welcome back. Please be sure that you subscribe to this channel and that you hit the notification bell so that you are always notified with new uploads. If you'd like to book a private consultation, I have some sessions available for the month of November, and you can find that right at the link below, lisasalvatore.com. You can sign up for my free newsletter to keep up with events and the weekly forecast. And also, you can find me on the Evolve Plus app, which is a great metaphysical space, so you're definitely going to want to check that out. Also linked below. Okay, so let's get started. Today that I'm recording this video, it is October 20th. And Scorpio season is about to begin. October 23rd, the sun moves into Scorpio, and we can definitely already feel the intensity kicking in. We are very much in eclipse season. We had a pretty powerful solar eclipse back on October the 14th. I've linked that video below because it's often even more impactful to reflect back. So you're definitely going to want to check out that reading. Lots of information in that one. And it does dovetail into this one. And even though this lunar eclipse coming up is a full moon, it's actually like a full moon on steroids, I still feel that the energy of the solar eclipse was a lot more jarring, if you will. Not to say that this one's going to be a cakewalk, but I do feel that whatever comes up right now, whatever is coming up for you right now, it is meant to. It is very karmic. It is closing out a cycle. There are epiphanies galore. Something is trying to reveal itself to you, something that has been lurking in the shadows of your own mind, your own heart, your own soul, your subconscious. Something is going to be revealed to you that is going to help to propel you forward and that is going to help you to recognize how far you have come. Very strong karmic implications to these times. Backtracking for a moment, the technicalities involved with a lunar eclipse. In order to have a lunar eclipse, first of all, it's always a full moon. It's when the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other in the sky. The sun is currently in the sign of Scorpio. Well, at the time of the full moon on the 28th, the sun will be in the sign of Scorpio. The moon will be directly opposite in the sign of Taurus. This is going to happen at 5 degrees and 9 minutes. And I'm going to show you the chart and we'll go through that. But 5 degrees, 9 minutes of Taurus, 4:24 p.m. Eastern time on October 28th is when we will experience the full moon partial lunar eclipse. Now, a solar eclipse, which is what we had back on October the 14th, occurs when the sun, the moon, and the earth align with each other. And what happens is the moon essentially moves between the sun and the earth and covers up a portion of the sun. Symbolically speaking, it's as if the darkness is eating some of the light. Now, this is a partial lunar eclipse, so the technicalities surrounding this. The earth moves between the sun and the full moon, but they are not perfectly aligned. Only a portion of the moon's visible surface moves into the dark part of the earth's shadow, and this is why we get that reddish hue with a lunar eclipse. It's partial. It's a partial lunar eclipse, not a total. So the earth is essentially casting a shadow on the moon. And unlike the solar eclipse, you don't need special eyewear to see it. And it can basically be seen wherever the moon is above the horizon. That includes Asia, Africa, Russia, the Americas, Europe, Antarctica, Oceania. It will also be visible in the southwestern sky from New Delhi. So its path is Australia, Africa, North America, much of South America, the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian Ocean. Get my drift? So it doesn't feel, energetically speaking, to be as intense as that solar eclipse was back on the 14th. But make no mistake, personally speaking, I do feel that there's a lot of closure going on right now, a lot of karmic closure, a lot of powerful endings that need to happen that bring in even more powerful new beginnings. And speaking of power, a lot of this is centered around our personal power. I have to mention that on October 28th, rugby fans in Paris might be in for a treat because that eclipse is going to be rising while they are on the field. There may be more action on that field as that partial lunar eclipse is overhead. And that'll happen about an hour after kickoff time. So if the skies are clear around 8 o'clock p.m. Central European time. And I also have to mention, complete sidebar, full moons tend to kick up energy. They kick up parasites. This is why a lot of people have stomach trouble around full moons because something's already going on and then the full moon surges and it swells everything up. It's water. It brings things up to the surface. And we all know about the bedbug situation going on in Paris. Well, actually worldwide, but particularly in Paris. So hopefully this will not be the case, but with that partial lunar eclipse, that full moon in Taurus, we may actually hear even more about this situation. So we may just be hearing a little bit more news coming out of Paris. And not necessarily anything negative, just about ramped up activity. when it comes to rugby, and also when it comes to the bedbug situation. Back to business. I invite you to take a moment and reflect back to November of 2021, particularly around November 19th of 2021, because that is when we had a lunar eclipse, a partial lunar eclipse in Taurus. Think about what themes were going on for you at that time. What page were you on in the story of your life? Which chapter? What situations or energies were surrounding you at that time? What did you have going on? There's a strong energy around endings and release right now, dating back to what was happening at that particular point of your journey. Even stronger if you're a Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius. This could have something to do with your finances. This could have something to do with your personal beliefs. This could have something to do with your relationships, endings and beginnings. We are not going to have another eclipse in Taurus until 2031. And so there's a very strong emphasis around what you value, your own self-worth. What has come up for you surrounding that? Where have you recognized your own power? Where were you giving away your power too freely? Have you taken it back? Pluto is very pronounced right now, okay? Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, and the sun is in Scorpio at the time of this eclipse. Pluto is also impacting the nodes of the moon right now. It's Scorpio season. There's a very strong energy of shedding layers, of shedding the metaphorical skin. That is what Scorpio energy is all about. That is what Pluto energy is all about. It's death and rebirth. This is about allowing ourselves to be in true intimacy with the self, understanding what's really going on beneath the surface, understanding the deeper meaning to what has happened for you in the past couple of years. Where have you been hanging on too tightly? Where do you need to let go? Think about all of the power struggles you've experienced. And for some of us, this could simply be the power within the self. It doesn't necessarily have to be an external event. Again, for everyone, it's different. I can guarantee that if you have strong Taurus or strong Scorpio in your chart, you're like, I am so done with this energy. I know Taurus has been getting beat up, lots of changes, a lot of them are for the good. But there's a requirement of letting go, of shedding the skin. All the fixed signs, in fact, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, or any points or placements that you have in those signs have definitely been and are being impacted by these energies. And in a lot of ways, it can feel really liberating. But again, it can be very unnerving as we release the old to let in the new. And mind, body, spirit, this is different for everyone. So again, I just invite you to think back to November of 2021 when we had that lunar eclipse in Taurus and see if it connects, or see how it connects, I should say. Now, I always like to look at the birth charts for the countries, cities, states that we are hearing a lot of news out of around eclipses. And I do have to mention that this particular eclipse is actually running through the chart of Vancouver, Canada. It's actually sitting quite close to the midheaven, which is the trajectory and reputation of said space. So I think that's pretty indicative of, news coming out of that area. Changes, release, turnover, wouldn't be surprising. So again, the sun enters Scorpio on October 23rd. We now have Mars, Mercury, and the sun all in the sign of Scorpio. And then we get to this full moon lunar eclipse on October 28th in the sign of Taurus. So now we've got this eclipse occurring at 4:24 p.m. Eastern Time at 5 degrees and 9 minutes of Taurus. So again, check your chart to see where 5 degrees of Taurus falls, to see where Taurus falls. You can download your free birth chart right on my website. I've also linked that below in the description box. Or if you already know it, then you'll know which area of life this eclipse is going to impact, or where you may feel this energy, I should say. Again, this will be felt the strongest for Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius placements, especially between 3 and 7 degrees. And I want to stress that I genuinely feel like there's a lot of positivity attached to this eclipse. It's a full moon, and full moons are always a release point. It's always a culmination of energy, the wrap up of a cycle. And it's normally the cycle of the previous 29 and a half days of that particular moon cycle. But because this is the final eclipse on the Taurus and Scorpio axis, and it does connect back to November of 2021, this is actually a continuation here, like I mentioned earlier. So it's got a little bit stronger of a connotation of the future. So there's a lot of destiny involved here, but then again, there's also a lot of our free will that comes into play. We are holding the pen to write some of our story. And think of the eclipse energy as the ink. We have to get that ink to the paper. That's this time. So like I said, I do feel like there's a lot of positivity attached to this eclipse. I am talking on the personal level. I'm not speaking collectively. I'm saying personally speaking, I do feel like there's a lot centered around letting go, shedding skin, bringing in the new, being in a state of flow, even with a stubbornness attached to it, with all of this Taurus, Scorpio, fixed energy that we've got going on. We may let go kicking and screaming, but the point is we're letting go. We're letting go to grow. We are shedding layers of outdated conditioning. The tarot card that Taurus rules is the Hierophant. It's a 5. It's the 5th card of the major arcana of the tarot. And the Hierophant is spiritual counsel. This is the spiritual guru. And this is really important to bring up because Jupiter is currently in the sign of Taurus, and Jupiter is the great guru. Jupiter is the expansive planet of abundance and benevolence. Jupiter is about spiritual protection and spiritual blessings. And Jupiter is also activating, or being activated, I should say, by this full moon. In fact, the full moon, as it moves through the sign of Taurus, is going to conjunct Jupiter. Not exactly at the time of the eclipse, but soon thereafter. And this is very positive. This is very abundant. This is about seeing things come to fruition. This is about when you listen to yourself, when you go inward, when you go deep, when you reflect, when you allow yourself to trust your inner guidance, your own wise counsel, you can move mountains. Now, I also wanted to pull in the tarot card for the first third, or the first decan of the sign of Taurus, which is the 5 of Pentacles. This represents this particular lunar eclipse in Taurus. Now we've got the Hierophant, which is Taurus and a 5, and we've also got the 5 of Pentacles, which is a 5. And 5s represent fluctuating circumstances and oftentimes change and instability. But I am looking at this as a transcendence of these fluctuating circumstances and situations. Something is coming to a close around this time for you. You are leaving something behind, something that has made you feel powerless or less than or left out in the cold. You've gone inward, you've reflected, and there will be more of that around this full moon, make no mistake. There's a lot of sadness right now, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of pain attached to, letting go of the old way. It's not easy, but it's repetitive and things are coming up. So again, 5s will represent those fluctuating circumstances that we deal with. We are putting something behind us for good, something that has made us feel less than, and we are ready to embrace the new. Now let's go ahead and pull up the chart for this lunar eclipse full moon. Okay, so we see right here, October 28th, 2023, 4:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, you can set this for wherever you are in the world. We see the sun right up here at 5 degrees and 9 minutes of Scorpio, directly opposite the moon at 5 degrees and 9 minutes of Taurus. We see Jupiter widely aligned with the moon. It's actually applying towards the moon, which is lovely. We like when the energy applies. Remember, Jupiter seeks to expand and bring things in and give us abundance and protection and blessing wherever he falls in our chart, in our life. Now, because we're dealing with the moon and full moons bring up a lot of emotion, a lot of energy, Jupiter is the great magnifier of the sky. He's the gas giant. He makes everything seem bigger and brighter and just more massive, for better or worse. So if we're feeling very emotional around this full moon, which we likely will be, and full emotions don't have to be sad, right? They can also be extremely happy, anxious, giddy, whatever it is. Jupiter will seek to blow this up. This is why I always talk about the power of the mind and the power of manifestation. Manifestation simply being intention. It's really important to be in a vibration of want and of love, not of lack and of fear. Remember that, because again, Jupiter is going to bring this all up and blow this all up. Now, we have a lot of fixed energy around this full moon, okay? So we've got the moon in Taurus. We've got Jupiter over here in Taurus. We've got Uranus over here in Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign, right? Then when we shoot across the chart, we see the sun in Scorpio. We see Mercury in Scorpio. We see Mars in Scorpio, okay? These are all fixed energies. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. Well, what does that mean? Positively speaking, it's a very determined energy. It's a very stubborn energy, for better or worse. It's very rooted to its position and to its power. So whatever we are focused on at this time, we are like laser sharp focused. And I don't know about you, but these past couple of weeks have felt very, very intense. Scorpio season tends to bring up things that are psychologically lurking beneath the surface, things that are bothering us, things that we haven't necessarily done the work on, the shadow work. And again, I'm going to plug my book right now that I always talk about, Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark by Robert Augustus Masters. It's an excellent, excellent workbook for shadow work. I have done the exercises in this book multiple times, and there is always something new to energetically clear, to bring to the light of day. So I highly suggest that if you are feeling the intensity of these energies and you're looking to help to transcend some karma, 1, you can book a reading with me, and or 2, I highly suggest this book. Now, adding to this determined energy is that we've got Mars over here at 11 degrees of Scorpio, and Mars is in the height of his power in Scorpio. The tagline for Mars is I fight. And I don't mean that like as if to say fighting in a negative sense. It's more about what I fight for. I stand up for this. That is Mars in Scorpio, okay? So whatever you're standing up for, you're standing really strong on your convictions at this time, and that can be really, really positive. Now, the sun is in Scorpio, so very laser focused, very motivated to get to the bottom, to clear power dynamics, to understand things at a deeper level, to psychologically dig in our heels. But the sun at 5 degrees of Scorpio is in a trine to Saturn over here at 0 degrees of Pisces. And so this just really helps to amplify this energy of determination, whatever it is that we're working on, whatever it is that we're working through. But again, the shadow side is we have to watch out for being too stubborn, too fixed, too rooted in our positions and convictions, too immovable, where we're not letting in the change. And as we know, eclipses, stir things up anyway that have been lurking for quite some time. Again, think quick endings, quick beginnings. In, out. Revolving door energy, whereas destiny is concerned. Now we have Pluto, like I mentioned, very active at the last degrees of Capricorn here, now moving direct. Pluto is still in this ongoing T-square to the nodal axis. Again, really making us feel the pressure to transform, not to conform, but to transform, to transcend, to move forward, to let go, to trust in our own faith, our own power, our own beliefs, our intuition. To know that this is what we're ready for, this time period. We're ready. We're ready to make these changes. Yes, they're scary. Yes, we fear being judged. Plug and play whatever emotion. But the bottom line is at the root of that. Remember, Pluto is the garbage man. He strips away what isn't working. He kills it. The key word for Pluto is permanence. He takes it away so that only he can build us, whatever it is, back up stronger so that we can ascend, so that we can evolve, which is what we are here to do. Pluto is all about the soul. He takes us down to the bottom so that he can bring us back up to the top. And sometimes we feel like we're drowning, but we always come up for air. Remember that. So again, Pluto is blasting down on all of us. What do you really want? Scorpio, what do you really desire? Taurus, what makes me feel safe? What makes me feel of value? How do I value myself? How do I value others? My finances. Taurus and Scorpio are the signs of finances, okay? Again, what have you learned about your own financial standing? How do you take care of your finances? How do you make money? This might also be a huge theme for you under this energy. I always say with Taurus and Scorpio, it's spiritual and material, so we have to integrate these energies. Do we place too much emphasis on the material world and not enough on the spiritual world? Not enough on our own sovereignty? This will come up as well under these energies. Reveals, it's a full moon. Lunar eclipse, full moon on steroids. In the sign of Taurus, about what we value, which is coming up through the depths of the opposite sign with the sun in Scorpio. It's not letting us coast. Again, really intense energies on the emotional front these last couple of weeks. Wouldn't you agree? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, now I also have to mention, because we've got all of this Scorpio going on, and because we have Mars and Mercury lined up in the sign of Scorpio, remember, Mars is what we stand for, Mars is how we fight, Mars is how we go to battle, it's our energy levels and our drive. Mercury is the way that we communicate, the way that we think, the way that we perceive information and data. So these two together at the time of a full moon, and a lunar eclipse at that, can definitely bring in intense conversations, which can be really, really positive and powerful, especially if they've been conversations that need to be had, that have needed to be had for quite some time, because it can really help us to get to the bottom of something, of some things. But because it's Scorpio energy, it could also lend to really fiery conversations that can turn left really quickly. So it's very important to be mindful of the power struggles and the power dynamics that are at play right now, and how this Mars-Mercury conjunction in Scorpio around a full moon can really just bring in very heated, animated conversations for better or worse. So watch your tongue and watch the potential to be very cutting with your words. Now that I would take collectively speaking, okay, this part, because we are all feeling these energies, and this can feel quite abrasive. We may hear things that we don't like, but it's not going to be the wisest move to engage in verbal spats because, again, it can just get ugly really fast. We can't ignore the fact that Scorpio energy and Taurus can be very temperamental and or violent at times, under the right circumstances, or the wrong circumstances, I should say. And so I will say this, it's really important to be an observer at this time and not an absorber. Awareness and observance are key, especially of your own emotions, your own motivations, and then any hidden motivations that might come up, because Scorpio reveals secrets. Pluto, all of this is overturning things, exposure. So you may hear things that you don't necessarily love under these energies, but it's your job to observe. Don't absorb. We also have Mars up here at 11 degrees of Scorpio in an almost exact opposition to Jupiter down here at 11 Taurus. So this really pulls focus on to the bigger picture. And personally speaking, it's about, what do I believe in? What do I believe to be true? Am I trusting my own inner counsel? Do I need to stand up for someone or something? Am I willing to do it? What are the consequences of said actions or inactions? This could make us want to fight a little bit, want to stand up. Mars opposite Jupiter. It can absolutely and more than likely will add to the emotional intensity around this eclipse, this Mars-Jupiter opposition. And again, because the moon is lined up with Jupiter, this could just make it bigger, more intense, more amplified. One last thing that I want to bring up about this eclipse is that we've got Uranus over here at 21 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus is in a quincunx or an inconjunct aspect to the South Node in Libra, the South Node up here at 24 Libra. So what does this mean? This means, remember, Uranus is about freedom, liberation, change, okay? And oftentimes these changes come in by way of disruption, which is what eclipse energy can and likely often will do for us. It shakes things up and shakes things out so that we land where we're meant to. And so Uranus in Taurus is already uncomfortable because Uranus is all about change. And Taurus is like, no, I'm rooted to where I am and I want to keep things the way that they are. If it isn't broke, let's not fix it. So Uranus in Taurus since 2015 is already quite uncomfortable. Just ask any strong Taurus individuals how they've been feeling jostled by Uranus in the last, 7-8 years. And a lot of it's been great, but it can be a lot. But now Uranus is in an inconjunct aspect to the South Node, and the South Node is a very strong release point. The South Node asks us to let go. And with Uranus inconjunct the South Node, this could just bring in a little bit more confusion about, how can I release this? How can I let go of this? What will this look like long term? Can I really do this? And all of the other energy around this eclipse is saying, yes, you absolutely can. You were made to do this. Whatever your strongest desires are, wherever your strongest fears are housed, this is all here to help to propel you forward. Remember, the only thing that is constant is change, and the only thing that grows in comfort zones is complacency. And I trust that that lands where it needs to. So again, watch your temper, trust yourself. Don't be afraid to go into the big emotions that are going to be coming up, that are likely already coming up and will continue to come up throughout the rest of the month, that will also peak around this full moon. Know that there's a purpose to it. If you know anything about the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, they are very driven. They are very fierce. They are very loyal. They are very dedicated to whomever and whatever is in their reality. So there is a very strong, powerful, karmic reason for everything that is coming up for you right now. You have to trust that. You have to believe it. You have to make way for the changes that are ready to come into your life. You have to release those patterns and those behaviors that are keeping you stuck, that are keeping you sheltered in a space where you don't want to be anymore. And again, for everyone that's different. Speaking of which, let's go through the signs now. I suggest that you follow your rising sign. You can absolutely follow your sun sign and your rising sign, but I suggest the rising sign first for most accuracy. We're going to talk about where this full moon is impacting your chart and in turn your life. And more importantly, I'd like you to also reflect back to April and May of this past year, because Mercury was retrograde in the same part of your chart that we're going to talk about right now. So there's definitely going to be a connection or a link that you can go back to and say, oh, yes, I was reevaluating this area of my life, and this is what I've learned since then. Here's the aha moment. Think about what has been revealed to you and for you. Okay, so Taurus Rising. This full moon is going to feel particularly personal because it is impacting your first house. The first house is the very way we express ourselves. It is the way we appear out in the world. It is the way that people perceive us. It is our personality. It is our physicality. It is our energy in our body. So this full moon is likely going to be impacting an area of your life, or a couple of different areas of your life, where you've been making some pretty powerful changes to build. I don't want to say it like you're not good enough as is, but it's like almost to build a better you, to make something in your life more sturdy, more secure, more stable, or at least for it to feel that way. If you're Gemini rising, this lunar eclipse is going to be in your 12th house of behind the scenes. This is the house of the unconscious. This is psychic energy. This is, our sorrows. This is a lot of psychological digging. How do you deal with your sadness? How do you move forward in the face of adversity? How have you, I should say? That's all going to be coming up for you around this full moon. You are closing out a cycle. Cancer rising, this full moon is going to light up your 11th house of your friendships, your networks, the groups that you're a part of, the way that you do or do not serve humanity. So a lot has likely come to light for you, and there's probably going to be a culmination of events within a particular group that you're a part of, or a specific friendship that you've been teeter-tottering with for quite some time. You have to let go to grow. Leo rising, this full moon is taking place in your 10th house. This is your career, your public face, your reputation. Many of you are going to be leaving jobs. Many of you are going to be starting your own business, moving. Status changes for our Leo risings. It could even be a divorce or the ending of a very significant relationship for you that catapults you into your next phase of life. As long as you're following your heart and owning your strength and courage, it will be okay. Virgo rising, this eclipse is going to be impacting your 9th house of your beliefs, your spirituality, your faith, education. What have you been learning? What have you been working on, either formally or informally? Have you been working toward a certification? Do you want to? What have you learned about yourself? Where have your own personal beliefs changed? Maybe some of you have completely realtered your faith due to an outside event. Maybe the way you're viewing the world is totally different. Lots of teaching and lots of learning going on for you right now if you're Virgo rising. Honor all of the lessons for what they are. Trust. Another key word for you for this eclipse is trust. Allow the universe to set you free, to set your mind free. Libra rising, this eclipse is going to be illuminating your 8th house. This is the house of sex. It's the house of rebirth. It's the house of death, both metaphorical and physical, but more often it's metaphorical. It's about deep bonding. It's about intimacy. It's about our finances especially that we share with others, and resources. It's about loans and debts and banking and inheritances. There's definitely a strong energy for our Libra risings of shedding skin here and letting go of relationships specifically that don't serve you, that are psychologically damaging, or that have psychologically damaged a part of you. You're willing and ready to let that go now for good, to close that door. There is a sense of grief and loss attached with that. There always will be, but it's time for you to truly release it. You also might get an epiphany surrounding a relationship in your life that's very positive and that deepens the bonds of intimacy. So enjoy that. Scorpio rising. This full moon is illuminating your 7th house of partnerships, contracts, agreements, wherever you share or don't share. Something is likely going to come up for you in these areas around this full moon, and it is definitely something that tracks back to November of 2021. So what agreements, what negotiations, what contracts were you under? For some, this could be the severing of an important partnership or relationship. It could be romantic. It could be a marriage. It could be a business. You could also be having a lot of epiphanies about what makes you feel balanced and safe. What are you willing to let go of in order to grow? Lots of karmic cleansing and lots of karmic clearing going on for you regarding your relationships. And with that, there is a stronger sense of self that emerges. Sagittarius rising, this eclipse is going to illuminate your 6th house of your daily life, your routines, your physical health, and habits. If you have not been taking care of yourself the way that you know you need to be, if you've not been following the rules that you've set up for yourself, then it's likely going to reveal itself to you under these energies, particularly where it has to do with the digestive system. So don't ignore your digestion if it's acting up. Something has to be altered if you're Sagittarius rising experiencing this, because it is not something that is just coming up now. It's likely been going on for quite some time, and maybe you've been avoiding it. It doesn't feel major, but it does need to be dealt with. Much like the Leo risings, Sagittarius risings are making big changes to their daily reality. So it could be that you're changing jobs or changing departments, or maybe you're even just changing the way you drive to work every day. It's something about your daily routines that you're bringing in fresh energy. It's time. Capricorn rising, this eclipse is going to light up your 5th house of pleasure, play, romance, love, children, either your own children or your own inner child. Also, children connected to you in general can fall here as well. So what have you learned about your own inner child? What have you been clearing? What have you been healing? What have you been working really hard to let go of and to release? What creative projects are you ready to bring out into the world? Or on the other side of that, which creative projects are you ready to actually do away with and say goodbye to because they aren't working for you any longer? Where do you need to pull in more joy? A lot is going to be coming up for you around these areas of life and helping you to recognize where you may have been playing it too safe for a long time. It's time to bust out and have some fun. Aquarius rising, this full moon is going to be impacting your 4th house of your home, your family, both family of origin and family of choice. For many of you, this could involve a change to the family dynamics. Maybe there's a new child coming into the picture or even a new animal. Maybe you're getting married. Could also be that you're leaving these energies behind you for some reason, starting a new life, moving, physically moving. Lots of changes here for Aquarius rising, having to do with the familiar, having to do with the structures, the emotional, physical, and spiritual foundations. You have been working so hard on yourselves for the past couple of years, Aquarius. And let's not forget that Pluto is going to enter your sign soon. So change is the name of the game for you. Power, powerful change. Pisces rising, this full moon is going to impact your third house of communication, networking, your community. This is also where our siblings and our cousins and those people that could be like siblings and cousins, so this could even be friends. This is where all of these people of your community fall under. You've likely been experiencing a change to the way, to the communication dynamics with others in your life. Some of you may actually have had to let go of a familiar situation, such as a relationship with a sibling or a friend, due to an inability to see eye to eye or to be emotionally gratified in a situation. It might have been wearing down on your soul. You could be finally releasing that and putting it behind you, or taking these connections to the next level. For many of you, this energy will have something to do with editing or putting something out into the world by way of communication. It's time. What are you birthing? What are you ready to birth? And what do you need to put behind you so that you can do that? And last, but certainly not least, Aries rising. This full moon is going to impact your second house of your personal finances, your personal well-being, what you value, who you value, what you place emphasis on, and what's really important to you. You are looking toward the future, especially financially speaking, to see how you can grow, to see how you can be your best self, to see how you can put your best face forward in the world, and to bring something of value. And as the North Node is currently in your sign, this is all about the future for you. This is all about going out of our comfort zone to bring in the new, and to be really honest with ourselves about what we genuinely value, what's truly important. Okay, so that is where the full moon lunar eclipse is going to be taking place for all 12 signs. I hope that this was helpful. Take really good care of yourselves. Remember that this energy is very taxing on the physical body, on the physical vessel. It's really important to do the very obvious things like drink water, get outside and get fresh air every day, get adequate sleep. At least try to. I know that that's hard. Sleep is difficult, but try to. Take Epsom salt baths, Dead Sea salt baths. Cleanse your energy. Light some sage. Open your windows. Clean your environment. Don't let anybody walk into your house, okay, your literal house or your spiritual house, with dirty shoes on their feet. Feel me? Don't let anybody track any negative energy throughout your house, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This is very important. Recognize where there are and is toxicity in your reality. Scorpio is the sign of toxicity and pollutants and releasing all of these things. And again, Pluto is just bringing in the epiphanies, bringing in the aha moments, digging at us, making sure that we understand that what we resist persists. Again, remember, be an observer, not an absorber. And take really good care of yourself and honor your truth. Trust yourself. Trust what comes up for you. You have what it takes to move through. Pull into your support systems. Okay. Again, LisaSalvatore.com. You can find me and all of my information below in the description box.